Our other top story tonight, the landlord accused of shooting a tenant in the East Bay.
The victim spoke exclusively today to KPIX 5's Susie Steimle. She's live in Berkeley with his terrifying moments. Susie?
Well, Liz, Timothy Loving was living in the bottom unit of this Berkeley apartment. He says he couldn't pay rent back in May because of some health issues. He says in June, his landlord came over with a gun and held that gun to his head. He says he first pulled the trigger and the gun didn't go off. But then he says he pulled it a second time in the chest, hit him in the chest, and nearly ended his life.
He shot me right here, and in that moment of being shot in the hand is when I realized that, oh, wait a minute, you're in danger.
It's the first time Timothy Loving is telling his near-death story publicly. He says on June 13th, his landlord shot him in the chest and in the hand. He says the day started out like any other.
That was the day after the Warriors Day parade. I got up, I went on a 3-mile walk, came back home from going grocery shopping.
When he got back, his 75-year-old landlord, Herman Little, who goes by Lee, was waiting for him. But there was no fight.
No, there wasn't no fight, there was no argument. As casual as you and I were speaking, as casual as he and I were speaking, all the way up until the moment he shot me.
He says his landlord shot him in the chest and the hand. Timothy ran into the apartment and locked the door to call 911.
Remember standing here and dialing 911, and I heard the door jingle, and I see the lock trying to turn.
Lee used his master key to get in, shooting at Timothy a third time. And you said you were thinking to yourself, I'm not going to die in this apartment.
I'm not going to die in this apartment. He's not going to get away with it, is my mind. Like, if I die, they're going to know who did it. If I die in this apartment, who's going to ever believe what happened?
Timothy was able to drag himself across the street to the cannabis club. Police arrested his landlord on site and rushed Timothy to the hospital. He's still dealing with some PTSD.
Anxiety, too many people who resemble him, noises, people walking behind you, brushing against you, kind of makes me a little jumpy. All of blood. You can see the blood all the way here initially. You see blood splatter on the door.
And knows he needs to start therapy to work on the emotional scars. He says the past 4 months have been survival mode.
I try to tune it out, because then it's going to be very emotional and dramatic, and I don't know if I want to deal with all that at this point in time.
Timothy says justice would be seeing his landlord permanently behind bars and getting an explanation from him as to why this happened. He's due back in court in January. Live in Berkeley, Susie Steimle, KPIX 5.